Hey guys, got a little thunder rumbling on my end. Sounds like we might get a little rain, but anyway, I've been praying about the testimony thing, and as I spoke to the sister that mentioned it, in the comments asking if I would put my testimony up. My testimony is a very delicate thing because I want you to know what happened and what God has healed in me, because it's so important that for you to know that it's healed. These things are healed in me. Um, but at the same time, I'm not trying to hurt anyone. And some of the people involved in my testimony are still around. They're still here. And they could be hurt or judged. And I'm not trying to let that happen. So, as I'm telling you about my life story, I want you to know I'm going to be very vague about the who's, not the what's, but the who's. Because it's just not important to the story. And um, and I want anyone who watches this that, I guess you could say, recognizes your part, please know it was forgiven a long time ago, and there's no hurt and there's no harm left. I'm whole, and I love you. And the person you were when this happened is not who you are today. So do not let the devil hurt you over this. Do not. Because it's as far as the east is from the west, as both God and I are concerned. It doesn't exist anymore. But it is part of my story, and it is what God has healed me from. And so just know in advance, I love you. So my mom was very young when she got pregnant with me, and as a matter of fact, she was 17 when she had me. And due to circumstances, my biological father was not a part of my life. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't even find out he existed until I was 15, but I'm going to try to do this chronologically so that it's easier to understand. But anyway, and she ended up marrying her best friend, who became my dad, and the only dad I knew about most of my life. When I was 3, he died. We were told most of my life it was suicide, but as I became older and wiser, looking and learning, I've been in and out of the Army, learning how bullets work and guns work, and there's just a lot of factors. I don't believe it was suicide. But anyway, so I lost my father at a very, very young age, and my mom was left at 20 years old with 2 children, me and a 5-month-old sister. And no education and no way to take care of us. And so she did the best she could. And if you're a single mom out there, you get it. There was some serious struggles. And she had her own childhood and abuses that she also hadn't healed from, that affected some choices she made. And that's understandable. But one of the choices she made was a gentleman that she was dating. And he became the first of 5 sexual abusers. I was sexually abused from the time I was 4 years old until I was 11, or 10, actually. We moved to Florida, and that's when it all stopped, because I was no longer around anyone that could hurt me sexually. Anyway, 2 of the people that hurt me were related to me, and the one who did the longest abuse, the more consistent abuse, was actually the closest thing I had on this planet at the time as a father figure. And so I think that one probably hurt the most at the time. Anyway, so I'm trying to stay chronological. We moved around a lot because, again, she was a single mom. And so I was always the new kid at school. I was always, you know, because of the abuse, I was a little weird, a little awkward. So I was really bullied a lot in school. I was very shy, very withdrawn. As a matter of fact, a friend of mine whom I got in touch with 30 years later, or 15, 20 years later, I don't even know, it was a long time later, she was just amazed at the changes in me, because she remembered this scared little girl, and I'm not her, anymore. The remainder of my childhood was riddled with emotional abuse and some physical abuse, but mostly emotional. I had a very, very low self-esteem. I would already been taught that I wasn't good for anything but sex, you know, and although I did very well in school, it was my escape. Um, it didn't, it didn't help, you know, make me feel better about myself. I was in and out of churches most of my life. So I had that foundation in God, and I'm so grateful for that, because what little bit I got of Him growing up helped me tremendously. So anyway, I was 15 when I found out about my biological father, though I didn't contact him for 3 more years. At 17, my stepfather at the time and my mom separated. Well, I was just probably about 15 when they separated. But at 17 was probably the last time he and I had any kind of, you know, relationship. Because he basically said he couldn't be my dad anymore. And I remember thinking to God, you know, why am I so horrible that I don't deserve a father on earth, you know? And so anyway, that same year, there was a suicide in our home, and I actually am the one that found the body. And the morning after, I was scrubbing his brains out of the carpet, and it was a pretty tumultuous time. It was a pretty tumultuous time in my life, my teen years. And then I got married, and I moved out. Only see, we all have someone in the Bible we can relate to, and when Jesus found me, I was the woman at the well. I've been married multiple times. Father, forgive me. I've been married multiple times. Or should I say, Father forgave me, because it's over, it's done. But each marriage got worse than the last. I've been married to child abusers, pedophiles. I had a husband rape me, and I'm sorry, yes, a husband can rape a wife. I got to the point where I just didn't, not only did I not trust love, but even when it was given to me, I didn't know how to accept it, because love had always hurt. Love had always hurt. So the more the Father tried to love me, I didn't know how to accept it. I didn't know how to be loved, because I didn't know what love was. I loved my children. I knew that. But even in them, because of, you know, my own choices, you know, I caused damage in their lives. It's a vicious cycle that has led to one of them not having anything to do with me at all. I have 2 grandchildren that I do not know, and the oldest of which I've only seen twice in her life. But I've seen a lot of hurt and a lot of pain, and I became a pretty good mess. I dabbled with drugs and alcohol, but I never really got off into any of them. Again, I thank God for that I don't have an overly addictive personality. The only thing I ever got addicted to was cigarettes. And I ain't gonna lie, God's still working on that one. Delved into the occult. I was using playing cards like a Ouija board and talking to demons on it that I would pretend were people I loved and knew, and of course in my wisdom I know they were just demons. One of my husbands, 3 months after we married, killed himself. So I've had suicide and death of a loved one that's that close to me several times in my life. So basically what I'm telling you is unforgiveness, both of yourself and of others, definitely something God helped me with. One of the things I had the hardest time forgiving myself for is during my sexual abuse, when I was about 9 years old, I allowed one of my abusers to hurt someone I love, and then talk them into not telling, because you know that I was taught that's what you do. You let them do it, and then you don't tell on them because you love them. And I carried that guilt for so long, especially as that person struggled in their own life. I felt that I was partially responsible for their damage, and I had a hard time letting that one go. My testimony is not about necessarily God pulling me out of drugs or alcohol or, what some people have gone through. My testimony is being battle scarred and coming out the other end whole. And being able to not only forgive the people that have been in my life that have harmed me, but to forgive myself for the choice of bringing those people into my life. See, that's the thing. The ex-husband that raped me, I'm responsible because I brought him into my life, and he hurt me, and he hurt my children. I brought that into my life. That was my choice, and I'm responsible for that choice. I'm forgiven for that choice, and I have forgiven him, and I've forgiven myself. But that was a tough one. It was a tough one. But you can't have any unforgiveness in your heart, not even against yourself. So it doesn't matter what you've been through, whether it was by your choice or someone else's. God is strong enough to put the pieces back together. He's strong enough. I live my life now with the understanding that we are not promised tomorrow. And because of this, I don't let anything take my joy for today. I have bad moments. I'm human. But I don't let anything take my whole day. And if you have things in your life that hurt you as a child growing up, a wise person once told me, when that person hurt you, they stole a moment of your life. But every minute you spend in unforgiveness of them or yourself, you give them. How much more of your time do they deserve? The thing the Father showed me that helped me to forgive the people, even the ones who would never apologize because I would never be around them again, is I began to pray for them. Father, handle them with the same mercy that you handle me. Judge them with the same judgment you judge me. And I got to see them through his eyes, and they are children, deceived, but children of his that have gone astray. And hell, I wouldn't wish on anyone at all. I'm going to wrap this up. It's starting to rain. But I love you guys. And whatever it is you're dealing with, just give it to God. He's got it. It's not your burden to bear. He said his burden is easy and his yoke is light. So give it to him. Let the pain go. Quit gripping the barbed wire. Let it go. He's more than capable. And he loves you. And as any good parent, he doesn't want to see you hurt. Prayers and hugs, guys. You have a blessed day. Bye.